Our friends at Beer 52 are offering you a free case of incredible beers that you won't find anywhere else. All you have to do is go to beer52.com/TrueGeordie and cover the £5.95 postage to get your 10 unique beers delivered right to your door. Beer 52 are the UK's #1 beer club, showcasing the very best independent breweries across the UK and beyond. This month, they've collaborated with North England legends Northern Monk and a host of incredible breweries across the UK to develop 10 completely new exclusive beers. Now I'm going to try the Northern Monk and Rivington Brewery collaboration. This apparently is a beautiful, bold and full-bodied IPA, packing a bit of a punch at 7%. And if you're wondering how I know all that, got the magazine, didn't I? This little bad boy comes in the box, tells you everything you need to know. And actually, you can find out a lot more about the fantastic breweries featured in the case. You don't get that treatment down at your local supermarket, do you? Time to step it up a bit. Oh, that's nice, that. That is good. However, before I get a bit too crazy on this one, I do want to try one of the other ones. This one is chocolate and vanilla stout. It actually does smell lovely, that. It's alright, that. It's like a beer pudding, all into one. And you can get dark beer or light beer and great snacks when you order. And if by some miracle you don't like it, you can pause or cancel at any time. So the link's in the description below, or you can go to beer52.com/TrueGeordie to claim your free case now. That's beer52.com/TrueGeordie for your free case of beer now. Ryan Garcia, a really strange situation. I don't know if we've seen anything in this in boxing like this before, like where it's our first like child star situation.
The thing that concerns me the most about Ryan Garcia isn't like, because you know sometimes you can look at the headline things he's saying, the concerning things he's saying, and there's always that bit of what if it's a marketing ploy. I was watching. We were speaking about this. Was it a Twitter space? He was on it with Andrew Tate. Even the little things he was saying, like when Andrew Tate said, I can't say anything on this because they'll come for me, man. And he goes, you want me to get you off of that? Yeah. I can get you off of that. And it's like, that there shows me the delusion's real. Yeah. Like that ain't even when you're thinking like that, like you can just see.
It's not a character.
Ain't in the right mind. He's not
egging it up for the cameras. No. And also, look, I don't know if he has a natural twitch, which some people do have, but I don't remember him twitching before this.
He's developed.
And then all of a sudden...
Right. This is sad, isn't it?
No, it is. I remember a guy who actually me and you know this kid who developed the twitch after being heavily involved in drugs, man, and it was fucking brutal to see. Like when I'm having a conversation with the guy, and now we're seeing this thing in the middle of Ryan's face every few minutes now, and it's like it's weird, but more so it's this glazed look in his eye, and he's just put that recent video up on Instagram of I'm not going to talk about anything else other than the boxing anymore, and you're like, mate, you need checked into a fucking psychiatric ward ASAP.
It's like Home Alone and Macaulay Culkin, seeing him, you know, a child star that you've watched, and he's like, we're just seeing him fall apart and on screen. It's not nice.
Who the fuck is around this kid?
That's
this is a disgrace.
But this is always the problem of always. He's probably got a load of yes man and people who are just on the.
De La Hoya's pushing him into a fight, mate.
Yeah,
that man he should give a fuck about you a little bit. He doesn't give two shits.
Nah, that he doesn't.
Disgusting, mate. After everything he's been through with substances and all of that, if there's anyone who should be pulling him out of this fight, it's him. Yeah, but they don't care. I mean, look at De La Hoya and who's the other guy?
Bernard Hopkins.
They're literally mugging him off in the last fight. Yeah. They were talking shit about him in the last fight, and I actually really appreciate the way Ryan got up and actually gave it to them in a press conference. But now I'm like, you fucking, and it's like in boxing they say boxing's the only place where the sheep rule the lions. You know what I mean? And not that Bernard Hopkins and De La Hoya are sheep now, like back then, but now you should be protecting this guy and looking after him.
Golden Boy haven't got a lot of cash cows in their stable at the moment, so like it doesn't really surprise me that they're still happy for him to go ahead with the fight. But when we're saying about, you know, him potentially being on drugs and stuff like that, even if he's not, like, you don't need to be on drugs to be in a bad place. Yeah. And if you're in that sort of place, like, to me, it looks like a manic episode. And that can be saying it's brought on through drug abuse. That can be undercurrent of it. But it can also just be someone, like you say, who's been thrust into the limelight at a very young age. I know some people think, oh, poor him, like, sarcastically, but earning that sort of money at that sort of age, you know, like the hangers-on, the yes men around you and stuff like that, he's clearly in a very confused, very dark place at the moment. And it was to a point when at the start of it, I was thinking, this could be genius. You could be doing something here to drum up the interest. And then as we see more and hear more, I'm like, nah, this isn't a marketing ploy. This is real, and you're in deep, mate. And listen, I'd love to see him in a ring with Devin Haney. I don't want to see him in a ring with Devin Haney when it's set for. You know what I mean? I think he needs a trip to a psychiatric ward or something like that, because he just isn't.
I can't believe it. Like, my dad's been sectioned 3 times, and like you know, it's not that hard to do. You know, like, you know what I mean. So, and especially with a man with this much money, you've got a lot of ability to check him into some sort of facility to look after him, and then in a year's time, even if you're a parasite living off this guy, you want to preserve your cash cow.
Exactly.
You don't want it to be smashed to bits in front of the world, and then have everyone pointing the finger at you down the road. And when he does actually pull himself out of it, he's going to look at people and go, well, why weren't you there to help us?
But unfortunately, the leeches don't think like that. They're just thinking about now. They want the money now. Yeah, they're not invested and thinking, looking ahead and looking to the future. So,
and do you know how they'd explain it? How they would justify it? They would say, mate, if he's like this when he's boxing, imagine boxing isn't keeping him on the straight and narrow. What's going to happen with him? We're trying to give him focus. We're trying to. That's the spin they would put on it, which is bullshit. We all know it is, but that's what they would try and put on it.
But you know what's weird? He said they took my phones, they took my bank card. Who's they?
Yeah,
who's the handler?
That's what I want to know as well.
Like, take my phone and take my card, my money.
Bullshit. It's a figment of his imagination, probably.
Yeah.
Like, I've dealt with, like, and look, I can't say I know this for a fact because I don't know his situation, but like, my dad, right, and we can have a laugh about it now, but he thought he was the fucking second coming of Jesus, man. He thought
a lot of people go like,
he thought the Egyptians were taking him back into a time warp in the middle of the wall, like, and he was freaking out, you know, like, there's no logic.
Start creating,
yeah, exactly. So when he's creating this, I was this, I was that, I went to Bohemian Grove. Bro, you ain't been to Bohemian Grove. Like, we all know that, right? They put a fence up since Alex Jones was there 30 years ago. And this is where the people around him should be ashamed of themselves, mate. And I would worry if I was a broadcaster putting this fight on. What's to say? You don't know what he's going to do under the lights. You don't, in this frame of mind. You don't. I mean, like,
you don't want to be responsible for his
clothesline Devin out the ring on some madness, you know what I mean?
God forbid he could even.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Anything. And that's why I'm saying lights, cameras, and action
this
mental state.
Like McCool when he was crying. Yeah. Remember, look at McCool. He was fighting Lennox Lewis and he's just crying, right?
Yeah.
Like, he just couldn't help it. He's just crying. Or like, even the other day I was watching Southpaw again, the movie Southpaw, when he's depressed and he just lost his wife and he just gets in there and just gets punched.
Mate, I seen a guy the other day in the not the UFC, but it was an MMA octagon, and right before the fight, he's like putting his hand on the cage and he's like, I don't know if you've seen it, and he walks forward and the other guy just head kicks.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
And he clearly mentally should never have been in a fight.
You know, when you hear Ryan Garcia talking at the moment, you see him on camera and in the interviews he's doing. Not one part of me can then envision later on that day he goes into a gym and has a good spar.
No way.
Yeah. And if we're saying that about a guy who's about to have a world title fight, that we can't envision that he's going in the gym and having good spars, fucking says it all, doesn't it?
How can you, though? Because if you can barely speak properly, how on earth can you evade punches? Like, it requires you to be so mentally clear and razor sharp. It's terrifying that could even happen.
This is where in boxing there should be really more to protect a lot of fighters, because there's no real, organisation that helps support fighters with mental health and all the rest of it, because boxing's you've got to take yourself to places where in normal people's lives you don't have to go, and the pressure, the stress, and like a guy like him who's shot to fame quite quickly and earned a lot of money for a young man, like, who's supporting him, who's guiding him? Like,
do you know what? I'm not going to put the responsibility on Eddie Hearn, right? Because Eddie isn't really the main man in terms of, it's a golden boy fight, but Eddie's involved on a overall level with DAZN and that. And I feel like Eddie's a good bloke. I've criticised Eddie a lot, but I do think Eddie's a good bloke. I'd want him to sort of step forward now and go,
why are you putting this on him?
No, you know why? You know why? You know why? You know why?
Hey, Eddie.
You know why?
Fix this.
Because I know Oscar De La Hoya is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But I actually rate Eddie. And I think Eddie's a great bloke. And actually, overall, I think he's a good bloke. And for him, if he stands by and doesn't stop this, I just feel like, come on, mate. Like, I know you're in the business of making money, but fucking hell.
I don't think he's got the power to.
Yeah,
I think when Eddie Hearn signed with DAZN, I think Eddie Hearn thought that he was going to have a Sky type deal with DAZN where he's the sole promoter putting shows on, and now you see like there's 4 or 5 different promotions, not only boxing, loads of things going out off DAZN. I don't think Eddie has anywhere near the amount of pull power there as we'd think, in terms of, especially with like Golden Boy shows and things like that. So, but I do get your point in terms of morally, he's one of the ones where you would think, mate, come on, like.
Well, he does speak out morally about things that are right and wrong regularly. Yeah. And with him he does have some involvement in this fight. They're interviewing him and De La Hoya have done this sort of face-off type thing, like.
So what did he say about Johnny Nelson recently? He said Johnny Nelson's a company man, yeah? And then when he was pushed on that, they said, well, would you not? And he went, no, it's good to be a company man. So if you're being a company man, if DAZN see it fit to put the fight on, you ain't going to speak out against them. Because I'll tell you what, Eddie turned his back on Sky. DAZN's just about all he's got now. You know what I mean? So I don't think he's going to speak out against them and say they shouldn't be putting this fight on, because I just think...
They shouldn't, though.
I get there's a moral thing, but think about the conversations we've just had, Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. There's so many things that override your moral compass.
The people at the top just want no check. Yeah. They just want the money. Yeah. So they're going to make the fight happen. I think they care about ethics.
No, it's not, yeah. It's true. It's ethics is like a thing for people, integrity and all that, and all those good.
How much money's on the line?
Yeah, well, that's the thing as well, though. Like,
it's about bread.
Not to say that this is right, but if you're DAZN, you're thinking, all right, mate, yeah, but we're going to pay you millions. Yeah. We're not shortchanging you. We're not like, getting you to do it for free and we know you're a bad place. We're prepared to pay you millions. So you go and get yourself right. At the end of the day, is he young? Yeah. But is he an adult? Yeah. He's been married a couple of times. He's got kids. They will think, right, no, take your own accountability and sort yourself out. And that's not to say that that's how it should be. Like, that's wrong morally, but that's the way they're going to look at it.
But things are starting to make a little bit more sense now when I look back at Ryan Garcia and look, maybe there's something to be said about he took a lot of punches from a very young age. Like, this kid was boxing from day one, and we don't know how much damage he has had because
I don't think there's punch damage.
But I'm not saying that.
I think it's money damage.
No, I'm not suggesting. I'm not suggesting that I'm right, lads. I'm theorizing that we don't know that in all of the hundreds and thousands of young children who are boxing, that Ryan Garcia could be the anomaly. I don't think so. I think this is a mental health thing. And unfortunately, when you do lose it, like Kanye West lost it, and this really reminds me of Kanye quite a bit in that he's leaning into it publicly and very much displaying the dysfunction. And
it could be the punch damage thing, though. Like, we disregard it there. It could be. You look at other sportsmen, yeah. Edwin Valero was the boxer I was on about, the Ecuadorian guy that killed his family. Chris Benoit, what's the guy in the documentary, the Netflix thing? Theo Hernandez, was it? The
NFL guy.
Yeah. All of them guys, when they done the autopsies on them, head trauma. And all of them, if you read into their stories, it was like things of hearing voices, things like that, psychotic episodes. So it could be said of that. You look at it, like, I know it's going quite technical with it, but Ryan Garcia's never been the hardest guy to hit. He's not the hardest guy to hit. You know what I mean?
What happens when things go wrong, they just lean into the fact that the boxers, they've took punches to the head. I don't personally think it's anything to do with that. I think it's down to the fact that he's had a lot of money from a young age, and he's clearly been taking substances, and I think he's got a drug problem. I think it's that simple.
Potentially, but to Joey's point though, when they've scanned the brains of Hernandez, the NFL player, Chris Benoit, people who've taken head trauma for a sustained period of time, they've found that their brains are significantly older than what they should have been. So Chris Benoit, when he died, was in his 40s. His brain was the age of an 80-year-old man. Yeah. Wow. So I think it's worth mentioning as a possibility. Yeah. But when you look back at some of his other recent behaviour prior to the manic, what we look at as a manic episode, the man announced the birth of his child and the divorce on the same fucking date of the woman who gave birth. Like, it's just bizarre. Like, there's probably things that we haven't been connecting in the past, and we're a bit fucking weird, isn't it? And now he may just been done. He might be getting progressively worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I just think. I certainly don't believe when all these tests get done with. I never believe it. I just think it's more down to the fact that he's, think of the opportunities and the parties and the things he gets involved with. Like,
he's seen a lot. Definitely.
But see, the thing is, he warned us about his mental health when he pulled out of the fight against, what's his name again?
Oh, yeah.
Who was it?
Oh, who was he supposed to fight?
I remember that, before the tank fight.
Before the tank
Yeah.
He told us.
Yeah. So, you know what? I must admit, I discounted that, and you know why? Because Canelo Alvarez came out and went, yeah, he's a bit lazy, he's not dedicated. So when he then pulled out for mental health, I was like, maybe it's just bullshit. Do you know what I mean? And to be fair, clearly it wasn't bullshit.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely think he's because if he has got mental health, the classic thing is to take substances to kind of block out all them,
numb the pain
and stuff like that. So, and like you say, that twitch and stuff that's come on very quickly. I've never seen him twitch.
It feels like a bit of a Paul Gascoigne situation.
And I'm sure in one of the interview he even says,
you know what I mean?
I'm sure he did say that he does drink and he does smoke weed.
Yeah.
So straight away,
do you know what though?
That's him.
So do I, mate, and I'm not fucking going through what he gone through. Do you know what I mean?
But what I'm getting at, that's him. Most boxers don't admit that they drink and they smoke weed. I know it might not seem like a big deal to the average person, but as an athlete, like, you're not going to admit those things. So that's him almost admitting that he's been taking things he shouldn't.
Tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, but what do we?
The tip of the iceberg. That's my opinion.
He might be absolutely battering the drink and the weed.
That's
what do we do as men? What does 2 pints mean?
I've just told you. So do I.
Yeah. No, but if we say we've had 2 pints, that's 6. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, if he says, I drink and smoke a bit of weed, it's like you are getting stoned from the second you wake up in the morning, you're drinking every single
Sometimes
drop
when you're trying to lie, but you feel the need to tell a little bit of truth so that people half believe you. If you know what I'm saying? He's kind of give the public something without telling everyone everything.
Well, Devin said I could smell the booze on him when he was doing the face-off.
Well, there you go.
And I believed that.
Yeah.
I don't think Devin's covered himself in glory here, and I rate Devin as a boxer, but he's like, oh, well, what do you do? And then he tells him what he does. He goes, such a bad example.
Yeah.
You just fucking asked him. And then he says the truth, and then you're slamming him for it. I mean, I know it's fight talk, but
fight talk. You can't call him for that, because at the end of the day, he's remembering he's going to step in the ring with his guy.
Fair.
He doesn't know if it's going to happen or if it's not. As far as he's aware, he's going to fight him.
If you're Devin, lads, do you follow through and just KO him and just think fuck him, or do you think I want you at your best and all of that?
No. We flatten him.
You flatten him. You've got.
So he's called the realist for a reason.
We flatten him.
Exactly.
If he shows up,
he's there to be slaughtered.
Can we just say? Earlier, though, you did, just to call you out a little bit, you did say Mike Tyson, you'd have a bit all of that, but now it's both of these people aren't at their peak and their best, right?
Yeah, but the difference is everybody's got an emotional, love for Mike Tyson.
Not 57-year-old man.
The age, the age, everything. But Mike Tyson is, I don't care what you say, he's a legend of boxing.
But question for you though, Loz, you're saying this. Who's more mentally, I mean, depending on how many magic mushrooms Mike's had, who's more mentally clear right now? Who's the person who you think is ready to step in the ring more? Ryan Garcia, who's on about Bohemian Grove and all of the fucking Illuminati, or Mike Tyson? Do you know what I mean?
If something bad was to happen to one of these guys, Mike Tyson or Ryan Garcia, you know who your money's on. And I'm not on about in a bit boxing ring. If you woke up and read some bad news about one of them, your money would be on Ryan Garcia.
Absolutely.
And that's the reason why I would have that reluctance, maybe, if I was Devin Haney. But then at the same time, mate, they fought 6 times already in the amateurs. Like,
I think
Ryan Garcia's got wins over Devin Haney. Like,
you see why I'm bringing up Loza? Like, it because we talked about the vulnerability of Mike. It does play into this conversation.
But it's a different type of vulnerability. When we're talking about Mike Tyson, we're talking about his age being a factor and kind of,
which isn't his fault.
It isn't. Yeah, like, it's not a case of he's not mentally clear necessarily. Like, I think Mike at this stage in his life seems a lot more clear. His mind's pretty good. He's had a lot of trauma in his life, and I think at this point in time, he's got a lot more clarity than he ever has. I think he's quite at peace where he is right now. But when we're talking about Garcia, like, he's not mentally stable. I think that's a completely different thing. Physically, he's in his prime of his life, but mentally, he's not quite right. There. So we're talking about 2 different things. We're
totally different, but I just thought, since we mentioned it earlier.
It's a good interesting spanner to throw in there. Yeah. But I'm getting the mental health guy down. If he stays,
as a head coach, Mr. Derek James, he has a duty of care for his fighter.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not my job. That's what I'm saying.
He shouldn't be putting Ryan forward, or he should say, you know what?
Yeah.
I can't
your army's supposed to protect your soldiers.
Yes.
I'm not supposed to pull up and say, looks like a couple of years still injured from last week.
Yeah.
Clear them out. Get them gone. Just finish it off.
You know what? That's a fair point.
Does that not beg the question, does Derek James know something that we don't?
Does he get it?
Yeah, well, does he care?
Well, I mean, what percentage is he getting of 20 million, right? Like 2 million? I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, are you my guy, or have you just hired me to do a job?
And as well, pain you can, like, say, for example, that emotional pain that you can outwardly see might be more shocking, but believe me, there's guys that do get in the ring that have been going through it in their... There was a guy that fought tonight, Kevin Lorena. His mum died today. Do you know what I mean? He's got in a ring and fought.
That shocked me.
He's got his mum passed away today. He got in a ring and fought tonight.
I feel like you hear about that though. Like you hear where people have had a sudden death or something, but or some. For all I know, I don't know what the situation is on this occasion. If it was an illness or whatever, but often then you're fighting. You're thinking, I know my mum or whoever would have wanted me to still fight. This is what This is what I live for. And like they would want you to fight, and then you can dedicate it to that person. So
you'll still have to get paid, boy.
I think
the bills don't know who passed.
So true.
The bills don't know who passed.
I feel like it's a totally different thing, you know. If you, but it's true though.
It's sad, but it's true.
Yeah. But yeah,
because I can't tell the man that no, I can't pay your rent because I didn't fight, so I can't afford it. Like you're gonna start getting your stuff cleared out real quick. You better fight.